Thank you, Crystal. Mr. Nico, what are solutions that we could implement as our organization to actually move ahead as a unit, as an organization?
Well, I think Crystal was very eloquent in what she said. She touched on a lot of different, things right there. What you're doing is obviously making a move in that direction, starting the conversation, having the conversation, and being vigilant about it. I mean, what you're doing is, you know, what you're doing, hopefully that spreads, to even other folks in their places and around their people in their little pods. It has to grow, like a virus. It has to grow in like a good virus, a virus of peace and love. You know what I mean? We're all Christians here. So one thing I learning to do, especially during last year and this year and just in my whole life, really, but more importantly, since I, gave my life to Christ, is even in this conversation, I'm trying to be slow to speak and react. Minister Abraham was talking about the difference between being in America with Africa, being an African and being discriminated against. And then I heard what Crystal said about the reasons why and different things. And I've seen that, you know what I mean? Because sometimes you feel as an American, I've only lived in America. I've only lived in USA. So sometimes you feel like your opportunities are being given to folks that aren't quote unquote, weren't born here. And so whether you're black, brown, yellow, red, or whatever it is, that's what it's looked at. It's about, like, I go back to my race plus power comment, because it's really about that. You're giving power is being taken from so many different angles. Here's another one. You know what I mean? Yes, you're my brother, but here's another piece being taken. So it's just that. It's just really trying to understand, like again, Elder Abraham said, your perspective. It's often said, stop looking from your own perspective, and sometimes it gets dismissed that your perspective doesn't matter because you have to think globally. But at the same time, you have your perspective because you have your experience. Just like he's experienced things in Africa, he'll compare and say, well, it's not comparable. We had apartheid, you guys, but Martin Luther King would have been 92 this year. It's not that long ago. You know what I mean? So, but so was Anne Frank in Auschwitz. She could have been 92 this year too. So it's present. It's present. It might not be as overt as you see, but it's just like we say we are spirits, right? So our spirits are attacked. If we're indeed spirits, like we talk about in our faith, what about the spiritual attack of racism that lives, that you can't necessarily see if you see it at the Capitol? What's happening internally to us, or what's still here? What's in us? So all those things need to be addressed. And for me, I'm trying my best, especially over this past year, to lean on my faith and trying to be not to be so emotional about it, which is hard because it gets in your spirit, right? Again, those things are used sometimes negatively. Don't be emotional, but being spiritual can be emotional, right? So it's a balance you have to kind of find, I think, within yourself, because we're people, we're humans, we have emotions, we have judgment based on our experiences, but there's that, and then there's outside of ourselves. So we have to find a true balance, and then it starts with that next person next to you. You got to just, your friend, your colleague, it's got to start in your own little pods for it to grow. Like Crystal said, it might not be, it won't be in our lifetime, but it started a long time ago. It's got to start at some point and continue to grow. It's got to be acknowledged as well. It's got to be acknowledged.
Yeah. Well, Starfury, you sent out a video to this morning about fighting and the anger of God, the wrath of God. And did Nico get a chance to see that?
Yeah, he did. I sent it to him.
Yeah, I didn't see it yet though.
Oh, you didn't see it?
Okay. Yeah, I didn't watch. Look at that, and then it comes from a spiritual perspective as well. So
I'll take a look.
It was a good video. So I was just gonna say, yeah.
Maybe can I add to what
Yes.
Brother Nico said?
Yes.
I think Brother Nico was spot on. Racism or discrimination, it's a hot issue. It's based on the heart of an individual. It's not a group issue, it's an individual issue.
Mm.
And until we get into the heart of the person, you may change all the laws as much as you like. I don't think there is any law in the US right now as I'm talking. There is no law in the US that legalizes racism. But we're still talking about it. What does that tell us? It's an individual heart issue.
Right.
Another thing is nobody is born a racist. There is no baby who is born and the next day he or she becomes a racist. Racism is something that people learn. To get rid of it, they have to unlearn it. People learn it from their parents, they learn it from their community, they learn it from the society, and it looks like a norm. So to get rid of it, it means we have to do a lot of unlearning, both black and white people. So it's a hard issue unless somebody's heart changes. You may change all the laws and the regulations and the articles and the sub-articles as much as you like, but if it's in somebody's heart, how do you change it? Because it is there, but it's still being practiced, but it's against the law. What does that tell us about individuals who are supposed to implement that? It's a hard issue. Thank you.
And I wanna end it with that statement, because I'm a member of the NAACP. I'm also a member of veterans organizations. I donate. I'm interested in space and I love space. I'm a Trekkie. I'm a futurist. I'm a Christian. And so when I sat down almost 2.5 years ago, and I asked myself, literally went in and asked myself, what a world would look like without discrimination, without any type of discrimination whatsoever. And there's something Dr. Abraham said that's why, I'm not being prideful when I point to this image. I'm not being prideful at all. The reason I point to this image is this is the image I received after I asked that question. So when I asked it to my God, to the Lord, my Father, this is the answer I got back. It is a heart issue. And the reason this particular image is black and white is not because it's white and black people. That is understandable. The reason is because when you're dealing with the color spectrum, this is a scientific fact. White represents the addition of light, and black represents on the other spectrum the absence of light. So if you think about it, you can put any color in there you want. It took me until my designer created this image, I was like, wait a minute. He said, you could make that any color you want. Because when you're dealing, it is, and again, I want to say it is a hard issue. It is a hard issue. Because we know it's a hard issue, and the people that implement the discrimination for so long and every other thing know it's a hard issue. That's where they attack. When other people go after you for something you hold dear, they're going after, like Nico said, Dr. Abraham said, even Crystal said, they're going after your heart. It's a spiritual, as we say, spiritual warfare. And for some of us, that's hard to say. It's difficult. So when you look at other organizations and you say, okay, like, I think it was Crystal, you said, why is it that everything from the past is still where it is? Why do one want to remove the nail? Because it's a hard issue. It's a fear issue because it's a fear of something you're losing. and the fear of the other person gaining something. But above all, it's a heart issue because they have to go within. And when you start to go within and reflect, there is a movie, it's called, I think even Elder Abraham will probably know about this. It's based on fact. It's called Lord of War with Nicolas Cage, where Nicolas Cage was a arms dealer and he would sell guns in Africa. And this is back, the story is based in the 80s and how Afghanistan he was from Russia. He imported the AK-47 and all this stuff. But there was something he said at the end of the movie. It was a good movie, but there was something he said at the very end that got me from the entire movie. The entire movie. I mean, this guy was selling guns to Africans on both sides and they were fighting each other. He said, you could go to war with everyone, but the one person or the one thing you should never go to war with is yourself. And those were the final words in the movie. And I was like, oh. So the heart, once our organization, with our CEO, Mr. Ron Johnson, and the Secretary Ebony, one of the things they were telling me and the board, every single person was telling me, the founder, you have to go after the heart. You're not going to go anywhere and try to do anything to change, to try to end racism, because the title is End Racism Forever, until you go after the heart. And that is the key. And if you can't go after the heart, then you're not going to, the objective is not going to be done. It's not, you're not going to meet your objective. It's changing the hearts and changing the minds. And that is our underlining core value of our organization. Changing, that's our statement, changing hearts and changing minds. So thank you once again. I've learned so much from you, from this great panel. I cannot, I feel like this is the right path. I feel that as time progresses, people will understand this and will see what we're doing. And people are going to take it really serious, because we're living in a time where if change don't come now, yeah, the storm is going to last, and it's going to last for a long time. So any last words from the panel? Anything before we close?
I'll just say thank you for being part of it. It's great, man. You're doing great, and I wish all the best to you and everything you're doing, man.
Thank you. Thank you. And you're all welcome again. I mean, we're going to be doing this. We have we ending our discussion I believe in April. We're going to end it. We think that would give enough time for people for us to discuss all aspects of it. And I mean, it's your space. So with yell, scream, debate, this is where it needs to happen. That's why I'm like, because if we can't communicate with ourselves and bring people to communicate with us and just talk, then what are we truly accomplishing? What are people taking away? So thank you. Again, our little creed is do no harm to anyone. It doesn't matter who it is. Change the way you are. And as always, try to find a way in every day to make the world better without the discrimination. What are your solutions to end discrimination? That's the question I asked to take with you. So thank you. It was a great pleasure. We met our time quota. Have a great night, and we hope to see you next week, okay?
All right, thanks.
Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you all. Bye.